Daytona Beach, Florida, the world's most famous beach, is strictly for pleasure now. But mementos still stand of a glorious racing past that brought automotive pioneers from all over the world. For the curious, this quiet garage still echoes with the challenges of international competition. Cars still roll along these hard-packed sands, but with a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit. The only thing that races here on occasion is the pulse. It is only fitting that the new Daytona International Speedway should be the scene of the first major assault on the European-dominated Grand Prix racing circuit by Americans. Since sports car racing began, it has been an all-European show, with the Ferraris virtually unbeatable for the last decade. But with growing American interest in sports cars, automobile manufacturers reacted to the new wave of performance-oriented buyers. It took a while to get acquainted. One American answer, dreamed up in 1962 by ex-driver Carroll Shelby, was the Ford Cobra. It took 3 years of constant change and frequent frustration to pull the pieces together. Originally built as an open cockpit sports car, the Cobra has now become a GT, or closed car, like the new GT40. A more sophisticated machine with a higher horsepower to weight ratio. Only 40 inches high, this super snake is capable of speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour. Another American answer is the all-American racer's entry in open cockpit Lotus Ford, driven by Dan Gurney. Equipment gets its toughest test on this 2.5-mile, 31-degree bank tri-oval track and twisting, turning, 1.31-mile road course. Over 1,200 miles on this course is equal to 100,000 miles of highway driving. Question, how fast must a car go to win? How do you keep a car from disintegrating before the race ends? How many pit stops will be needed for fuel, tires, and driver relief? Do drivers win races, or do cars? Whatever remains unanswered in practice will be resolved between 10 in the morning and sometime that night on race day. 43 cars, 29 from Europe and 14 from America, will start the 2,000-kilometer Daytona Continental, the longest race on the North American continent. 43 drivers, speaking many different languages, will drive them. The drivers get their instructions. Once around the tri-oval, and then into the road course. All right? Got it. I'm ready. Some last-minute advice and assurance, and turn me loose. The pace car leads the field out of the pits. 1,243 miles, 327 laps around Daytona's tri-oval and through its road course. The cars move up tight behind the pace car for the running start. Number 77 Ferrari, the fastest qualifier on the inside. Number 72 Ford GT, the second fastest qualifier on the outside. And the race is on. The Ford Ferrari battle begins in flashing style. Bob Bondurant zips into the first turn, opening up number 72 Ford GT. After one lap, it'll become a road race as track stewards set out the cones, marking the entrance to the road course. Bondurant whips the sleek 40-inch high prototype around the tri-oval, but wait, he plows right through the cone. He grinds down on his brakes as Surtees, the number 77 Ferrari, slips into the road course in first place. Bondurant rejoins the race, well down in the pack. Dan Gurney charges past Miles into third and takes off after Hanscon and Surtees. He pulls even with Hanscon and passes to take second. Gurney moves in on John Surtees, the world road racing champion in the lead Ferrari. Coming out of the road course, it's Surtees, number 77 Ferrari. Gurney, number 44 Lotus Ford. Hanscon, number 88 Ferrari. and Miles in number 73 Ford GT, followed by the Cobras. But Gurney wants the lead now. He guns his Lotus Ford, catches Surtees' new prototype Ferrari, and passes him, hitting better than 180 miles an hour. Gurney's car, called the Pacesetter, looks to be just that. In fact, Gurney is averaging 110 miles an hour per lap, 7 miles an hour faster than he was able to average in practice. Surtees, on the other hand, is running 3 miles an hour slower than his one-lap qualification speed of 113 miles an hour in the Ferrari. Interesting question. Who's really hot and who's playing it cool? Whatever the tactics, Jerry Grant, Gurney's co-driver, is pleased. Pedro Rodriguez, Surtees' co-driver, looks worried. Uh-oh, fire on the front stretch. Dave Hull pulls number 47 Jaguar off the course. Time to bail out. This car's too hot. Early in the race, and the leaders have lapped far into the field. Gurney is boxed in, but he finds a hole and heads for daylight with Surtees right on his tail. Number 47 is the first car to be retired. 10-lap rundown. Gurney, 44, first. Surtees, 77, second. Hanscon in. Watch out! Hanscon spins out. Now there's only one Ferrari ahead of the four GTs and Cobras. 10 miles, the number 73 GT takes third as he passes Hanscon. A pedestrian now. Hanscon dodges traffic on his way back to the pits. Another spin out. Miles slides off the course, but recovers to hold third place. Gurney sprints through the field alone and dives into the road course. But where's the Ferrari? Surtees is the first of the leaders to pit, Continental style, as if he had all the time in the world. After all, it's a 12-hour plus race. But the Cobras pit American style. 12-hour race or 2 hours. They don't waste a second. The Shelby crews have brought organization to the gentlemanly world of sports car racing. Pedro Rodriguez, the winner of the last 2 Continentals, takes the wheel from John Surtees. Number 77 Ferrari is still second. The GTs and Cobras are close behind. Gurney pits. He's broken all track records up to now. The terrific thrust on the high banks and the hammer-hard pounding on the straights has created handling problems. In seconds, his crew rebalances the wheels. Rodriguez strains to get the lap back, but Gurney's in a hurry. His car checks out okay. He isn't even going to change drivers with Jerry Grant. He wants to beat the Ferraris personally. The fuel line is swung out of the way, and Gurney goes out the leader. Trouble on the third turn. Rodriguez is slowing to a stop on the course. Gurney keeps charging full bore. The Ferrari's European tires blew, beating the rear end and battery to pieces. Now Gurney can relax. He ran the Ferraris into the ground. He beat them. He'll let Grant, his co-driver, do battle with the GTs and Cobras. New battery in hand, Rodriguez is going to try to fix the Ferrari half a mile away. But even if he succeeds, he'll be miles behind the leader. In Grand Prix racing, a driver is totally responsible for his machine as long as it's on the course. Co-driver Grant has time to talk things over with Gurney. A 15-pound battery on a half-mile hike gets heavier and heavier with every step. The Pacesetter now has a 5-lap lead, better than 19 miles between it and the nearest competition. Rodriguez ran out of car, but not out of courage. Now the Ford-powered cars hold the first 5 places, unchallenged. It's Shelby's race, as he tells Ken Miles and Lloyd Ruby to go get 'em. Surtees and Rodriguez gave all they had. Defeat is never easy to take. The race wears on. Drivers push too hard. Judgment becomes blurred by heat and fatigue. Sometimes you don't know whether you're coming or going. With 22 cars still running, the nearest non-Ford, non-American entry is a Porsche, running 6th. An unscheduled stop. Jerry Grant brings the pace setter in. Lloyd Ruby gets ready to take out the second-place Ford GT. The pace setter is out of the race with a cracked piston. Ruby rides into first place. Gurney and Grant's ride is over after a record-breaking 825 miles. Now it's GT, Cobra, Cobra, GT, Cobra up front. On into the Florida night. The Shelby crews flash information and instructions to their drivers. The final precautionary pit stops. Pit crews make sure everything is go for the 2-hour push to the checkered flag. Even in the pitch dark, Shelby gets them in and out fast. Down to the last laps. Ruby in number 73 GT has a 5-lap lead over number 13 Cobra. The last lap. The Americans have won. They've overthrown the Ferraris in just 3 short years of competition. What's more, it's a clean sweep for America with Fords taking the first 5 places. Detroit and Akron placed their products in open competition with Europe's best and won. They proved they had the speed and stamina to run fast and long. 2,000 kilometers in 12 hours, 27 minutes, and 9 seconds. The first round is over. The second, about to begin. Sebring, 150 miles from Daytona Beach, in the heart of Florida's Citrus Belt, is the next stop on the International Grand Prix circuit. Just 30 days after the Continental, the 12 hours of Sebring puts 2 of the world's longest and most grueling road races back to back. The Ferraris are here in force this time, 11 entries. And there are 21 American cars, up from 14 in the 73-car field, including the controversial Chaparrals, reputed to be the world's fastest sports car. But the big question is, can Shelby's victorious Fords that swept Daytona make it 2 in a row? With 15 years of outstanding international competition going for it, Sebring, at the end of March, is Mecca for the sports car fan. All kinds of people from all over America and Europe jam into the World War II bomber training field that is the home of this 12-hour endurance race. Ribbons of cars stretch for miles through the Florida countryside. A crowd of over 60,000 lines the old runways, drawn by the top names of the international circuit and their red-hot American challengers. Jim Hall, Dan Gurney, his pace setter repainted and renumbered, and Jerry Grant. For car builder Carroll Shelby, Sebring poses new questions that can only be answered by drivers like Phil Hill and Ken Miles, Daytona victor. For the fans, from 10 in the morning until 10 at night, Sebring is a colorful spectacle of sight and sound. For each driver, the 12 hours is a never-ending battle with himself. He must calculate speed against wear, fatigue against time, common sense against courage. Back of every driver's impulse to race right from the start is the sobering thought. Remember, the real race doesn't start till 6 o'clock, when there are still 4 hours to go. As race time draws near, the drivers are all lined up opposite their cars for the traditional Le Mans start.
12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Smash up at the start. Number 51 Volvo runs right into number 12 Cobra. And number 16 Cobra can't get started. Tough break for the Fords. Under MG Bridge, and Gurney on the inside makes his move. He takes third from number 4 Chaparral. Coming up to the hairpin, Gurney charges Hall in number 3 Chaparral. But Hall holds second with number 22 Lola Ford in the lead. The Volvo that crunched the Cobra is still running, but it won't be for long. Well, let's take off a wheel and look at the suspension. Bad luck for Richie Ginther. He's in the pits with handling problems. Down the back straightaway, Gurney challenges Hall for the lead. And takes it. Number 10 GT gets out as the leaders begin to lap the slower cars. The Fords are now up to full strength. But storm clouds pose new questions as the leaders pull away from the field. This is what Sebring looks like to Dan Gurney. All he sees is 5.2 miles of flat road as it twists and turns through the S's and straightens out for the approach to the hairpin. This is a 260-degree turn. It's back off, clutch, downshift, brake, clutch, upshift, and gun it for the warehouse straight, heading for Webster Turn. There are 8 right turns, 4 left turns, and the S's to wrestle with on every lap. There'll be more than 200 laps. Onto the back straight, and Hall passes to take the lead away from Gurney. But there are 11 hours to go. Two hours into the race, with Gurney still in hot pursuit of Hall. The first scheduled pit stops begin, and some stops are routine. Some are not. Heat is beginning to burn up cars and drivers. The man gets relief, but not the machine. While drivers work 2-hour shifts, the cars, with precautionary stops for tires and fuel, run all 12 hours, if they last. This old airport may look flat, but to these stiff-sprung cars, it's a washboard. If it weren't for seat belts and shoulder harness, drivers would have to hang onto the wheel just to stay in the seat. Dan Gurney makes his scheduled stop. But there's some unscheduled trouble. His gauge shows no oil pressure. Is it the gauge or something more serious? There's one factor you can't compute in racing: luck. The GTs and Cobras are running smoothly. Ken Miles takes his victorious Daytona car out in 4th place. Gurney is through with a broken oil line. His crew wheels the pace setter off as Hap Sharp, Jim Hall's co-driver and partner, wheels the chaparral onto the track. Hall, just out of the car, shows the strain of 2 hours on the road. Bob Bondurant has had a chance to relax. And the spectators? They find their own diversions as hour after hour of the race rolls on. In a long afternoon, stomachs and stocks need replenishing. At the halfway mark, tired muscles and jangled nerves begin to take their toll. A spectacular barrel roll flip. But safety equipment and harness protected the driver from injury. The chaparral has stretched its lead to an incredible 40 miles. But that enormous advantage may only be as good as the weather. With black rain clouds moving in, only the closed cars may be able to finish the race. The open cockpit sports cars should swamp. Carroll Shelby, with 1 GT and 4 Cobras running strong, is delighted at the prospect. With a little help from the elements, he may catch the lead chaparral. The magic hour, 6 o'clock, and it may be a new race. The crowd covers up, and here comes the deluge. The track is awash. Cars look more like speedboats as they plow through the submerged race course. The chaparrals are slowed, but they keep on plugging. How can they do it with their carburetors vented straight up? An old Cobra swamps, and so do the open cockpit Ferraris. The closed GTs, Ferraris, Porsches, and Fords begin to close in on the chaparral, cutting the lead in half. Number 4 chaparral spins, coming out of the Webster turn, but the rain subsides from a deluge to a downpour. Number 3 chaparral, with Sharp at the wheel, picks up the pace. Hall hoped for less rain, Shelby for more. With a 20-mile lead, Sharp turns the car over to Hall for the final 2-hour shift. But the rain starts up again. There's still a chance if the chaparrals slow down and the GTs and Cobras step on it. Sebring is the World Series of U.S. sports car racing with 3 major classes of cars: Sports Unlimited, Grand Touring Prototype, and Grand Touring. Although everyone wants to be first overall, all class victories are equally important. The Ford GT is leading the Grand Touring Prototype class, and the Cobras are leading the Grand Touring cars. The Chaparral is leading the Sports Unlimited class. With 1 hour to go, the course is totally submerged. If you don't have lights, you stay with someone who has. In these last minutes and last laps, the challenge that is Sebring begins to show on men and machines. Many cars are entered with the knowledge that after this 12-hour goal, they will have to be written off. The prize money is small, but the test, supreme. If you have any opinion of yourself or your equipment, Sebring is the place to test it. A few seconds to 10 o'clock. Everyone waits tensely. Suddenly, the 12-hour Sebring Grand Prix of Endurance is over. The chaparral roars out of the darkness and wet to claim victory for America. Cobra is first in the Grand Touring class. Number 11 Ford GT is first in the Grand Touring Prototype class. 30 days that shook the automotive world. 2 races, the Daytona Continental and the 12 Hours of Sebring. American entries took top honors in all 3 major classes. Where Europe once ruled the road, America now leads the way.